Right, let's measure these pistons. Got my trusty electronic vernier calipers. Let's set them to 0. Now, how are we going to do this? Let's go around the other side. That's better. So we're going to measure the skirt of the piston. Don't want that rolling away. .75, 1.99. That's the one with the blow by. This one here. Hello, what's gone on there? .13, 2.02. So the skirts on the one without the blow by are thicker, so it means the piston's less worn. Now let's just try this ring on the thin area. 1.51, and on the rear 1.63. On the one that's we're assuming is a lot better, 1.58. Try the other side. You can always get a bit of muck on the blades on these. 1.52. So I think the next thing to do is to try that ring in the bore and see what the gap's like. So here we've got the bore, and that's the good ring. So effectively you've got to be careful here because you don't want to drop it in a hole. But you put the ring in and just turn it. Okay, and then if you want to be dead sure that it's square, just put the piston in and push down very gently. Right, let's zoom in. Right, you can just see the gap just here, just there, and this is a .2, I think. There's virtually, it's not a very wide gap. Let's just try another one. Let's try a .25. It's a bit fiddly. Yeah, that's 0.25 of a mil. So there's not much of a gap there. Let's just show you the other one. Take that out. Pop the other one in. We want the gap a bit further round. Now you can see a much wider gap, and just get a feeler gauge to it. I've got a 1 mil feeler gauge there. Not quite, but it's a huge gap. Let's try a 0.8. Yeah. So that, you can see that gap there. That's had it, but the other one is fine. So we're going to use that ring. So I've been thinking about this saw. Let's just get rid of that. And this was the chassis of the saw with the primer pump. Now that is a tear. It's not a nibble by a rodent or anything. It's a tear. So that is a reason why this saw didn't run, and it also explains why the big end is nearly perfect, the piston is very good, and the rings are very good, because it's, as I said, sometimes you'll get a saw and there's not that much wrong with it, but it's been abandoned or robbed because it won't run, and there's the reason. And these fuel pipes, they just push in there. They are a curly pigtail, and they just push in, and they've got the fuel filter on the other end. So I think we're going to do is we're going to use this chassis with the correct top end, with the bottom end, with the pump, and we'll just build it back up, because the evidence says that this was a very good saw and it was abandoned because of that fuel pipe. Okay, so that's the piston in place. You don't need to see me putting the piston in place again. If you've not seen the procedure, have a look on the 023 or the MS260 videos and you'll see the whole procedure. But you've got a little end bearing, and the little end bearing goes in the big end, in the little end on the rod, and the gudgeon pin goes through. So it goes through the bearing that's in the little end and out the other side, and then you put the circlip in. Circlips are fiddly. You've got to have your best glasses on, or else it's off halfway across the workshop, never to be seen again. The rings, they're not flat on the end. They've got a notch, and the notch goes round the pin, and the pin stops the ring from moving around and interfering with the ports. On these, the pin is at the back. That tells you where the back of the piston is, and the exhaust is at the front. So we'll just pop the ring on, which you probably won't be able to see what I'm doing, but let's give it a go. But hopefully there you can see that the ring then fits around that pin. That's that. I think the next thing to do would be to put the rear handle on. So we'll just sort out that fuel pipe and then put that together. Just whilst we're here, and I'll see whether I can show you that pipe there. There's a clear pipe there. That is for the primer pump. And so that goes to the, and I'll just get that other piece. Where are we? Let's try and get it there. That clear plastic pipe goes to that other fitting just here. So the fuel goes up through that clear plastic pipe, through the manual fuel pump, and then into the carburettor. That's just to prime it if it's been sat there for ages. So fitting the rear handle, or fitting the tank assembly and rear handle, for the moment we're only concerned with the immediate fittings. So we've got this spring here. Everything goes rolling off, and that screw goes in there. We've got the spring at the end, and that goes there, and then either side we've got a screw with a rubber buffer, and the rubber buffers just sit in these holes. So it's just to sort of limit the travel of the springs, and there's one either side, and one just went rolling off down onto the floor. So we just put some of that together. So what I've done is I've just put the front bolt in, and we need to feed the fuel pipe up through this hole, and somehow we need to keep that up there. Okay, we can pull that fuel pipe back through into the tank later on to level it all up. Now the rubber buffer, I'm just going to show you one side, goes in there, and then you push that down, and of course you've got to do both sides. And these buffer bolts, if we can see, they've got a plain parallel piece on the end and then a thread down here. So they go like that. So let's just put that together. So there's both buffers in place. You can see it down there. When you're doing this screw up here, or the other one, doesn't matter if the buffer turns, because the screw actually threads into the case, not the buffer. It's just that parallel bit that sticks in the buffer. Okay, and then the remaining mount at the moment is here, and that screw goes into the end of the spring.